All right. Want to say welcome to it. This is Everyday Lessons Now. Want to welcome you back to our next week, our next edition, a new edition, and a new week. Want to welcome my co-host, Dr. Marla. Hope all is well. Hello.
Yes, thank you. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I hope you had a beautiful weekend.
I did indeed.
Nice. We had some interesting times, but nevertheless, we are here. Want to say welcome to all. If you're tuning on, this is the first episode you're getting your hands on. Want to thank you guys so much as we continue to build, continue to bring everyday lessons to you guys each and every week. And I can guarantee you this. We might not fix an ailment. We might not fix a broken bone. We might not heal a broken heart today. But I guarantee you, after each and every 20 minutes with us, you would definitely learn something or feel better about something or have a clearer understanding about something. That I can guarantee.
Absolutely.
I really will love to fix that broken arm or that severed knee. But that's not me. And that is not Dr. Marla. We don't bring them kind of great. What we can do is give you some healing grace and send some comforting words. But
you will have
to walk with a limp. That's just reality. You'll have to
Indeed it is.
You'll have to walk with a limp. So what are we talking about today?
So today, actually, I want to talk about how glass ceilings impact business. And glass ceilings, because I got a message from a councilman who wants me to sit on a panel. And in his request, he started by saying that he's happy that I'm shattering glass ceilings and so on. So I thought, glass ceilings may actually be a good thing to talk about. And so that's kind of where my head is today, talking about glass ceilings and sort of identifying what they are, how we could get past them, and how businesses could profit from them, or how businesses could help us to get past what glass ceilings are. So essentially, glass ceiling is actually a term that was coined by feminists. And remember, we were coming out of a time then when basically the workforce was dominated by men. It was a male-dominated industry. Once you worked outside of the home, it had to be male. And, so there were small gates that were open and people were let in, but they were only let in up to a certain point. So this glass ceiling is really an invisible barrier that prevents a certain demographic from getting higher. And in this case, most times it refers to women. So women are sort of capped in the workplace by how far they could go and so on. And I'm reminded of when Hillary Clinton was running, and when she got the nomination from her party, it was said that she had shattered a glass ceiling because a woman had not been selected before. So, she was the first to do it and so. And so with that in mind, I began to think about how businesses could actually do better, if they start to think of whether or not these glass ceilings that exist now, or should they still be imposed, and how we can go about really breaking them before having people break them. So in some cases, as we know now, where we deal with diversity and inclusion and so on, there's still glass ceilings there that people have to work around. And sometimes people leave a company because they figure, okay, I've got to the highest point I could go. And they don't do anything else, And you sort of know that you've reached a glass ceiling when you realize that someone who's less qualified than you are has actually passed you by. Mm-hmm. And if you find yourself going, that might be me, then there is a proverbial glass ceiling that you cannot shatter, or you have not yet shattered. And I wouldn't say cannot, because there are ways around it and ways that we, kind of need to talk about. And I also wanted to highlight that now in the workplace, most women make, in the same position that a man is employed in, most women make 79% of what the guy would make. So even with the gender pay gap, there still is an issue in 2022.
Of course.
So just some things that we need to think about, because, yes, we were encouraging girls to get into STEM and, all the other things that we're encouraging them to do, but it's not reflected in the pay. And that is really where, because we talk about equal opportunity for equal pay and so on. And it's not exactly where we are.
And we know women across the board suffer that fate. And then if we being honest in terms of there are men because again, because of the ethnic background, don't get what
Right.
they deserve.
Right.
Black and brown men, obviously, they not obviously, it's been seen for many, many moons that they work for considerably less than a white man in the same position. They just not offer the same thing. They don't ever respect them
Right.
to that point. And again, it's something we spoke about, well, off camera, last couple of weeks, the fact that we have to operate in a space as though we're brainwashed into believing that, yeah, we the one of us that get our break need to be thankful and wait the next 15 years for one more person to come.
Right.
So,
right.
and like especially women who break in the glass ceilings, because for women there's a lot of firsts happening. And we've been
Yes.
seeing it, a lot of firsts. And it's so strange. Like I just read an article yesterday, a young black girl who won something. She's like a young rocket scientist and she invented something, and the first black person to ever graduated. And she went to one of those black universities. So she's a 1st in her
Okay.
field. And
Right.
there's so much other firsts that been happening. If we really look at it, there's a lot of women who who we always have problems with her name, Jackson, who's on trial.
Oh, just Justice Ketanji.
Yes.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
An ex-first. You understand?
yes.
There's a lot
Right.
of firsts that's happening
And we're in 2022, and
Yeah.
the Supreme Court has been there forever.
for a million years, and now is the first.
Forever.
And it's not.
Yep.
And in little things, so not only big things. Like I saw stories where there was a principal in a random town in the US in some state, the first ever black principal, and people were like, oh, who may be Lou, because for the past how much ever years, no, there are no black teachers.
Right.
And she's one of these stories. So she went to the school as the only black child, went through the system, came up and went back 15 years later now to be the principal of the same school, that type of
Right.
story, which
Yeah, yeah.
shouldn't be a thing.
It should not.
It
really
shouldn't.
should
Not no. It shouldn't be a thing that
Yeah.
jobs like, so I don't want to say mediocre. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm trying to say. Not saying that a principal is a mediocre, but jobs like teachers, principals, doctors, they're still doctors in certain facets of the medical profession. It have a lot of firsts happening with women. Like I saw this thing recently, which I didn't know what I think the word is. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is it matching? When you when you're a student doctor and you have to get your doctor, well, you have to be matched to a
So
particular.
like internship and mentoring, maybe.
No, it's not. It's matching is the word. I think I'm correct.
Okay.
Matching is the word. And there was this black guy. There's this video trending where he was the only person to be matched, a black guy, and they show you him with his family, and they showed you him with his family, his wife and 2 kids, and they showed you the struggles of him trying. And then they had these people were breaking down to say it's like you send out your resume to 15 other hospitals. And it's a machine that tallies like how we speak about artificial
Algorithms
intelligence,
and
right?
AI.
So it checks to see if this hospital matches you and your skill set,
Okay. All right. Yeah. So matching.
right? So it's matching, and
Okay.
apparently they said it's always rigged in the favor of young white doctors.
Okay.
So
okay.
black men hardly ever get matched.
I see. Okay.
So it was like a great moment. You saw his peers and family and everybody just crying when he opened the letter and realized
Okay,
that he
okay.
was matched. And that was something new for me because I had no idea what it was. And
Right,
it's so
right,
ironic
right,
to
okay.
see that, because you tell yourself there's so many black doctors around.
Yeah.
But you never really stop
yeah,
to understand
how it works.
how it works and how they get there. And there's still there's some, I saw a story too with a woman she was more Hispanic, but darker Hispanic, and apparently whatever field she got into, a specialty field. She's not a MD or anything, a specialty field, and it's like nobody respected her because nobody told her, and she has a man surname.
Okay.
So apparently it was nobody knew it was a woman,
Wow.
and she had all the qualifications,
slipped in.
right, and slipped in, and she like aced her class. She's like graduated with honors, and in the profession she's one of the best in the world. But
Wow.
when people read all of they do you talk about it all the time. Doctors continuously do research. When you're doing research and you have to pick up from somebody else, and they're doing clinical
Yes.
trials and yada yada.
Yes.
Apparently she's one of those who did extensive research, a lot of trials, and all her
Right.
data, like she took it from, it's like the jump she made. And this is me, guys, just understand I'm freelancing here because I'm not really too
Au fait with the terms
on the
in her
terms, right?
field.
But I can just break it down to layman terms.
Right. Yes.
What the highest peak it was, the last time it peaked was like 1981.
Wow. Okay.
So she's now in 2021. She just, all those years, she just had this leap. But all the time she was writing journals.
Okay.
So
so she was keeping up.
Right, and all this stuff that she published, all these other doctors is like, wow, but they never knew it was a woman. They always thought it was a man because of her name. I can't remember her name. It's like, let's say a black man or something like that is her name. So everybody was going on and off, only to realize the person who was doing all this research and getting all this work done was a Hispanic, dark, persuaded Hispanic girl.
Yeah.
From Mexican, a brown girl who got through. So things like that. When you're talking breaking the glass ceiling, it's so strange that, as you said, in 2022, we're still talking about breaking glass ceilings when it should be.
Now we should be on the other side of it. But there's still ways that businesses can combat it, or businesses can get out ahead of it. And one of those ways is allyship. So allyship is generally when people from communities that are not marginalized are able to speak up on behalf of these marginalized communities. So you can have men advocating for women to get certain positions, and you're not just advocating and asking nicely. Women are qualified. So, you need to be on those committees where people get glossed over because of whatever biases exist. If you're an ally, you put yourself in a position to say, no, I'm going to hold the door open for you. That's kind of what we need. That's one of the things that we need. Another good one that I like is to have blind screenings. And it takes me back to when an orchestra, I want to say in New York, was screening for new musicians. And women found that they were not getting in. And then somebody suggested that they do blind screenings. So they would give you a piece to play, and you would play this piece, and they don't see who it is. Sort of like how The Voice and so on.
They hire you on merit.
Yes, exactly. That is fantastic. Blind screening. So when someone applies and they have a resume or whatever, you block out the name and you look at what qualifications they bring, and then you call people in based on qualifications, and you deal with it like that. That's one way to do blind screenings. Then if you have people working for you and you figure, okay, this could be a glass ceiling kind of place if we don't take it in hand, what you could do is have sensitivity training. So you in your training, you work in all the things that we are talking about on this show. So all the things to do with emotional intelligence, soft skills, resilience, all of those things, you have that in your sensitivity training. So your understanding of the sort of biases that your co-workers could come up against and how you could help them overcome it. Those are, some things that you could think about. Also, companies could look at hiring people who are diverse deliberately. So you make it a part of your goals, and in your goal setting for the year, listen, we need to diversify this office. We are going to hire some people who look different. And this is what we need for them to do, because we want them to, they're still going to be qualified or whatever, but they just don't look like everyone else in the office. And it makes your team so much richer, guys. It makes your team so much richer because you have different perspectives. So people are already coming qualified. However, they may have a unique skill set because of their background. So a woman would probably handle, like, let's say, decisions that are made emotionally and using intuition and so on. She would handle that differently from how a guy would handle it. Someone may have a different cultural competence. So, there are different ways that you could go about it and different reasons why your team should be diverse. It makes it all the richer, And then the last one I think that is important is reassessing. So at the end of the year, you can check to see, well, which of my goals did I hit? How am I doing in helping people to elevate through that glass ceiling, helping people to shatter that glass ceiling? And do not think of it as just women. Think of it as demographics that are actually barred from getting further. So I mean, and it is possible in any field of endeavor, because as long as you have gatekeepers, you're going to have glass ceilings. So think about it in music, think about it in art, think about it, in all the ways where people need to elevate beyond where they currently are. Yeah,
correct. And I love the blind screening. Blind screening is
Yeah.
excellent, and it could work. I think it could work with just about anything in
Yeah.
terms of, like, for instance, but there are some jobs, if you're being fair, that require a different sort of skill set, where
Right.
I think that's the only time gender issues should come up. And when I say that, I'm talking about, because not even physically only, because there's some women who physically could do things that a man can do.
Okay.
I'm talking about just in terms of just resistance and resilience, and
Yes.
a woman might just have the temperament to stay underwater for 2 days in the
Okay.
cold, and a man might not be able to. So it doesn't mean, but I know that's something that was talked about back in the day, that men get more because of their built. The fact
Right.
that,
Yes.
but those things have
yes.
changed
But that
over
could come
time.
from training too.
Right,
Because
those-
you could hire a woman who was a SEAL, and she might be able to do more because of just that grit
That's the
and that
correct.
training
So that's what I'm saying.
than a guy. You
So
know.
when we talking about the gender equality, I think those are the discussions that you need to have. I think it should be understood for certain jobs. I think anything technical base, in terms of intellectual technical base, should be
Right.
fair. It shouldn't
Yes.
be it shouldn't even be a question of a man knows more. Forget it.
Right.
It should be
Right.
who is the better person for the job, full stop.
Who's more competent, and what is that level of competence based on?
Correct. And
Is it fair screening?
And that's what I believe, that is the kind of conversation we're supposed to have when we're talking. Because if we're being fair, we know physically, you might have, a woman might have, will have to compete for a job, a physical job. Doesn't mean she can't do it. Like, for instance,
Right.
let's talk the police service. I think the police service is fairly equal, because just as how there are male criminals, there are female criminals.
Right.
So I don't think you should have, because you're a woman, you should just work the desk and not be a detective. I don't
Right.
think that's
Correct.
not, because she might have more detective skills than a man, just naturally.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, and that's naturally should
No
have more,
argument here.
because I could never understand why they don't employ more women as detectives, because they have a natural sense of trying to figure things out.
Of course.
But we never do, and it's
I come
because
with training that we don't necessarily
but
bargain
I
for,
think
but,
I think it happened back in the days for the same reason. They
Yes,
just assume
exactly.
that women, because of, again, the fact that women go on maternity leave and women can make children and all of these things, is like, it comes like it's a stoppage now for them, and men don't ever have to stop. They can continue going.
Yes,
But a
exactly.
man might physically be able to go, but mentally he breaks down.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he can't
And
do the
that
job.
is something else that we need to treat fairly too, because we keep expecting men to do more and do more physically, but then we don't necessarily give them that emotional support that is
Yeah.
required to keep them buoyant.
And not
We
only that,
generally
you
don't do that.
lose concentration. If we're being fair, how the human body operates is need nutrients like anything else. You need to feed it, right? If you're not feeding it the right things and giving it the right, and you would not operate at 100. So if a man is just going, and a men love to do that, they have to appear busy, they're going all the time, but you're not sleeping well, you're not doing that,
Right.
your sharpness is gonna go.
Yes.
You might miss
Yes.
something. You might go on a crime scene and overlook something because you're tired.
And it's basic.
And
It might
it's
have been
basic. And you're tired, but you will get it passed because you've been doing the job 12 years, 15 years, so
Yes.
they give you a pass.
Yes.
So it's not, that is some of the conversations when you're talking gender equality that we need to start addressing, that there's certain things that you just have to allow it to be fair across the board and with pay. Because I don't
Yes.
think it's fair that, like in politics, right? If a female politician who is the minister of whatever ministry, she should make the same amount of money as a male politician who is a minister of whatever. No other ministry should be greater than the next
No.
because of who's running it.
But we know they're not divided equally, because sometimes I think of it, ministries especially, like a pie chart, and whoever has the biggest share of the pie in terms of what they bring to the economy, I think that is how they reward the ministers. I
Which
could be
I-
wrong.
which-
I don't know
which-
that for sure, but
No,
I am
for us
sure that
is-
ministers
is-
are not paid the same.
is Diamond. It's like the prime minister gets the most and then it comes down, right? But my thing is, I've always argued this point, that I think civil servants, people who serve for the public, should not be paid a salary. They should be given a stipend, and at the end of your 5 year, the country, by a scale, a performance scale that would have been drawn up by an independent body, could tell you get paid depending on your performance.
After 5 years?
After 5 years. Because
So what are you doing from month 1 to 60? How are you eating?
The state. Understand, if you're working for the state is taking care of you. What you're doing, state's business. What do you need outside of food, shelter to work for 5 years?
Plan has met with opposition, has it not?
Of course.
You've had some pushback. Oh, okay.
Of course, it will have pushback. That's because we've been told that when you get a job, you get a job for you. All Caribbean politicians think that when they get a job as a minister, the job is theirs. I am now the minister, so I need to be rich. I need to be rich.
So hold on. In wrapping up, is this just for ministers or is it for public servants? Because you started by saying
no. I meant ministers, government ministers.
Okay.
Not public servants, government ministers. Because you're going in there for 5 years.
I get it. It sounds nice, but then I, as the wife of a government minister, didn't sign up for this. So I still have to be able to, feed myself and my family.
No, you can. You could feed yourself and your family. All I'm saying is that, and that's
the government foots the bill, and you don't get extra.
The government foots the bill of what you need in the 5 years. The harder you work, the more time and effort you put into your job. At the end of the day, depending on how the merit points or whatever, how the scale of assessment, your work assessment scale is, you perform to your peak of your career, and you perform to the best, and at the end of the 5 years, it's like you're doing the SAA, and they give you an SAA to do. If you in the 93% in your 5 years, you walk away $10 million, whatever is your reward. Thank you for your service. You go about your business.
Well, then everyone would do a fantastic job. So maybe that is something that we need to ask Caribbean governments to unlearn.
You think everybody will do a fantastic job, but they've been taught for the greed. They will come in there hoping to just grab. That's my thing. You're forcing them to actually
work.
Because what I could never understand is why it is when I get a job, I should drive a European car as soon as I get a job.
Yeah, I know that's a sticking point for you.
What is the importance of a European car as opposed to a car?
Right.
To get a job? I'm not saying you can't have luxuries. When you're done your 5-year service, hold on to a European. Buy it. It's all fine. We still give you a tax exempt.
Yes.
At the end of 5 years, you have one tax exempt. You can buy a nice car. At the end of your term, you go ahead living your life as a citizen. But when you're working for state, you have a job to do. Your job is to make sure that the people are fine and doing the people's work. But they go in there and do their work.
Yes.
Something disturbed me this last week. I was watching the Minister of Sport. She's my friend. But I watch how you see them before the position. Before the position, you were cool with a Michael Kors handbag. No. In the position.
It's a Birkin bag?
Nah, hells no, she can't. If the first minister to wear Birkin in Trinidad, I'm picketing in the streets. I'll be the first man to placard. Because Trinidad might pick up on it.
What you're saying is there's still a glass ceiling in terms of bags.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm definitely not putting that in the atmosphere. I want no female minister walking into parliament and no Birkin at all. But I'm not saying you can't have a Louis Vuitton, don't get me wrong. But
listen, Kanye just gave somebody a Birkin bag
as a minister, she cannot be gifted that bag as a minister. You cannot.
What?
You cannot.
How?
Because you cannot accept gifts. That's still considered a bribe. Who contracts to give you give you a Birkin? For what reason? Unless you can prove your fiancé, husband, the man you're dating, the significant other you're dating, could afford, because then he will have to prove to us the citizens
that he didn't get it from the state. It wasn't swindled.
And it was legitimate, because we want to know what is your source of income, because this bag starts at $250,000 US.
It does.
So where did you get money to procure a Birkin bag for the Minister of Sport, who was just wearing Michael Kors?
And who is getting a state salary?
Thank you very much. All right, guys, I know we strayed for a second, but it's okay. It's all good. So just like that, we came to the end. So we hope we gave you something to think about. Remember that glass ceiling. I will still encourage every young person, man and woman, to keep reaching for it. Try and break it. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, it's something we've been saying recently. We're trying to encourage all young people to think about a job that's not been created yet, and you try and do that job so you can break that ceiling. Create your own ceiling to shatter. Keep shattering your own ceiling. Give yourself points to go at, and go at your points, and keep doing better and better every day, whatever it is you're doing. If you're into whatever you're into, just make sure and give it your best and work hard at it. All right? So we leave you dancing as we normally do. Be gone!